Okay, so let's get started. And whoever joins us during the session, um, they're welcome to do so and just pick up where we are. So thank you so much for joining the session. It is going to be a little bit different to our normal webinars. So this is definitely not a content-rich or content-heavy session. This is going to be more of a practical webinar. So we're going to be doing some exercises that are going to help us cultivate self-compassion. So please get comfortable. I can only focus on one thing at a time, so I will not be looking at the Q&A or the chat section whilst in the webinar, but I will attend to everything once we're done, and I'll answer all your questions live on the session, but at the end of it. Okay. So I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so just to introduce myself, I'm Meryl. I'm the community manager and customer support for Trickstop. So I'm really excited to be hosting this webinar where we're going to be talking about cultivating self-compassion after a relapse. And it's going to be a mindfulness experience. So we're going to be doing 2 exercises. So just an overview of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at relapse and strong emotions, what self-compassion is, and all of its little components and benefits. And then we'll be doing 2 mindfulness exercises. And as promised, we'll be doing a Q&A at the end of the session. Okay. So what can you expect from the session? So this webinar will offer you a hands-on experience of what self-compassion truly feels like in practice. Okay, so we'll dive into the importance of self-compassion in managing the emotional aftermath of a relapse, to providing you with practical tools to build resilience and maintain a positive mindset as you continue your recovery journey. And again, just remember that relapses are a common part of the healing process. So yes, we want to build our skill set so they don't occur. However, if and when they do, we also want to ensure that you have the resilience and the skills to get you through it. Okay. So for various reasons, including cultural norms and expectations, not everyone is familiar with or already practices self-compassion. And we will briefly go into this in a little bit more detail a little bit later on in the session. So for now, sit back, get comfortable, and let's get exploring. So relapses can be deeply challenging. A lot of us have experiences, so we know what this means. So it often triggers feelings of guilt, shame, and self-criticism, and other feelings and emotions. However, experiencing a relapse does not mean failure. It's a natural part of the recovery process. So understanding how to navigate these setbacks with kindness and self-compassion can significantly impact your journey towards healing. So just a brief overview. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but what is a relapse? So a relapse is a return to previous behaviors after a period of improvement. So this might mean engaging in hair pulling after a period of abstinence or reduced behavior. And these behaviors can be persistent and difficult to manage, often resulting in feelings of failure and self-blame. So relapses often bring up intense emotions, and these feelings can be incredibly overwhelming and lead to a negative self-view. So we're going to go through some of these emotions and feelings, but I mean, this is not limited to what we may experience. And again, there is a previous webinar that we did just last week going into a lot more detail about these strong emotions. So firstly, we may experience guilt. So we can feel responsible for the relapse, believing that you have let yourself or others down. We may feel shame. So you may be internalizing the behavior as a reflection of your self-worth. So you may be thinking, I am a failure, or I am weak. You may be feeling embarrassment. So worrying about others noticing or judging the behavior or your perceived failure. You may even feel disgust. So you may even feel repulsed by your actions or your appearance due to the physical effects of pulling. So what is the possible impact of these feelings? So these emotions can significantly affect your mental health, leading to increased anxiety or depression, and a sense of hopelessness. And this may even increase the likelihood of, or even the intensity of your pulling. So if not addressed, they can create a cycle of negative self-talk and negative behavior, such as pulling, and then thus hindering your recovery. So now what? So now that we know what a relapse is, how some of the common emotions like guilt and shame and even embarrassment can hinder our progress towards recovery, what can we do? So let's have a look at self-compassion. So what is self-compassion? It involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend or a loved one in a similar situation. And self-compassion is an essential tool in overcoming the negative emotions associated with relapse. So let's take a moment just to reflect on what our culture or society thinks about self-compassion. And to help us with this, I've created a quick poll for us. It seems like it's not working. So I'm sorry about that. So we may think about in our society or our culture that it's touchy-feely or wishy-washy or airy-fairy or just something that's not concrete in science. So something that's not scientific. Um, or in some cultures, it may be seen as selfish because the word self is included in the phrase. So it may be seen as self-indulgent. Some of you might even see it as something positive that we should be practicing on a regular basis to improve our mental health. So whatever your beliefs or your cultural beliefs or the society beliefs are about self-compassion, it's these types of discussions and webinars are important for us to have talks about what self-compassion is and how helpful it can be. And in fact, that it's actually a very well-researched approach when it comes to, improving our mental health. So in having these types of discussions, we have hopes that we destigmatize these types of things. So what are the benefits of self-compassion? So it reduces negative emotions and helps in dealing with stress and setbacks more effectively. And it can encourage resilience, making it easier to bounce back after a relapse. It may foster a healthier, more sustainable recovery process by promoting a positive and more nurturing mindset. Self-compassion is linked to more motivation. So you become less afraid of failure and you are less scared now about failure and thus will continue to keep trying. You can take more responsibility for personal mistakes and increased motivation to try repair things. It is linked to healthier behaviors and it is not self-indulgent. So there are three components of self-compassion. There's self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. And we'll go into a little bit more detail and providing some examples for each. So the first one is self-kindness. So this is treating yourself with compassion. So it's being warm and understanding towards yourself when you suffer. fail or feel inadequate. So rather than ignoring your pain or being self-critical. So again, self-kindness involves treating yourself with the same understanding and care that you would offer a close friend going through a tough time. So after a relapse, it's easy to fall into harsh self-criticism. So thinking things like, I should have been stronger, or I failed again. So self-kindness encourages you to counter these thoughts with a bit more gentleness. And later on in the session, we'll actually go through some examples. So for now, an example might be, instead of berating yourself or being highly critical, you say, I should have been stronger, or I failed again. You might say, I'm going through something really difficult and it's okay to struggle. I can offer myself the compassion I need to move forward. So this shift in perspective helps you build a more supportive inner dialogue, which is crucial for long-term healing. So common humanity, so it's understanding that you're not alone. So it's recognizing that suffering and setbacks are part of the shared human experience. So when you experience a hair-pulling relapse, it can feel isolating, as though you're the only one who struggles in this way. So common humanity reminds you that many others face similar challenges and that you're not alone in your experiences. So this awareness can be incredibly comforting, helping you to reduce feelings of shame and isolation. And it's about realizing that relapses happen to many people dealing with hair pulling, and it's part of the journey, and I'm not alone in this. So again, you might say, were you feeling alone or isolated? I'm probably the only one who can't stop pulling. Or others are progressing through the program, but I'm just stuck. Or even no one would ever understand what I'm going through. But when we change our mindset to more of a togetherness perspective and incorporating the common humanity, we can say, relapses happen to many people dealing with hair pulling. It's part of the journey, and I'm not alone in this. Or even, everyone has their ups and downs. I'm just experiencing a down right now, but I will get back up again. The third component of self-compassion is mindfulness. So it's observing your thoughts, it's observing your emotions without judgment. So it's taking a balanced approach to negative emotions so that feelings are neither suppressed nor exaggerated. So again, mindfulness is about being fully present and aware of what you're feeling in the moment without trying to suppress or deny those emotions. So when you experience a hair pulling relapse, it's natural to feel overwhelmed by emotions like guilt, shame, or frustration. So again, mindfulness allows you to observe these emotions without being swept away by them. So instead of getting caught in a cycle of self-criticism or catastrophizing, mindfulness helps you recognize your feelings for what they are. They're temporary. So without mindfulness, the response to a relapse might look like, I can't believe I did this again. I'm so weak and I can't control myself. I always mess up, and this just proves that I'll never get better. So in this scenario, the individual is caught in a cycle of self-criticism, letting the feelings of disappointment and frustration define their self-worth. The emotions are overwhelming, and there's no sense of stepping back to observe or manage them. They're all consuming, and they lead to a downward spiral of negative thinking. But with mindfulness, the approach might be more like, I notice that I'm feeling really upset right now. This is tough, and I'm disappointed in myself. But I know that this feeling will pass. It's just one part of my experience. It's not the whole story of who I am. So here, mindfulness allows a person to recognize, name their emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. They acknowledge the disappointment, but they don't let it define their overall self-worth. creating a space for understanding and self-compassion. So our first exercise for today is we're going to be looking at gestures of self-compassion. So this is going to help us simulate simple physical gestures of what the lack of self-compassion can feel like, and then what it can feel like by focusing on the three components of self-compassion, which again are mindfulness, self-kindness, and common humanity. So it's constantly reinforcing those concepts. So this is an exercise taken from a talk presented by Dr. Kristen Neff. So I want you to relax, sit back in your chair. If you can, I'm here on the top right corner of your screen. I want you to be able to watch because we're going to be demonstrating some gestures. So first of all, I want you to hold your fists incredibly tight and squeeze them. So keep squeezing them, hold them extra tight, keep going, squeeze them tighter. Just sit here for a while. And what emotions does this invoke in you? So what does this feel like? And get curious and examine what is coming up for you. Keep squeezing. So this might feel like uncomfortable. This might make you feel a bit anxious. This might make you feel a bit tense. It may even make you feel a little bit angry. Okay. So this is what it may feel like or can be similar to when we are experiencing self-criticism. So typical mindset when we are experiencing self-criticism and these types of feelings are self-isolation. So this feels awful, okay? This is not comfortable at all. So our next gesture, so keep your hands like this, is now open up your hands and just let them sort of look up to the ceiling. And just hold them here for a bit. And just notice what you're experiencing. And what has changed for you? Just give that some thought. What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? Are you maybe experiencing some relief, a bit of freedom, a bit of calm, less tense? So this can now be a gesture of mindfulness. So this, what happens when we stop fighting what is and we accept them. Okay. So now, if you can see, hold out your hands in front of you. Keep your hands open. So stretch out your arms. And what does this gesture invoke in you? Does it feel like you're inviting someone for a hug or an embrace? Does it feel like childlike? Does it feel warm or inviting? And just sit here for a moment and discover what this is bringing up for you. So this could be a gesture of common humanity. So we're all in this together. So we are embracing each other. I'm inviting you into my space. And this kind of feels good. Okay, so our last gesture for this exercise is I'm going to take our hands, put them on top of each other, place them on your chest, on your heart. And again, just sitting here for a moment, experiencing what you're experiencing. And what do you feel? Sit here for a moment and see what you notice. So you can notice your breath or your beating heart. So what happens here, or what emotions and feelings arise for you? So again, maybe it feels soft, peaceful, or maybe even safe. Are you feeling perhaps grounded? Or are you even maybe feeling a sense of kindness? So this gesture can be what it feels like to experience self-kindness. So if you want to know what self-compassion feels like, you can bring your hands down. It's letting go of this, and it's opening and accepting ourselves and embracing others and opening our hearts towards ourselves with kindness. Okay. So it's quite a nice, short, brief, but very effective exercise to experience the lack of self-compassion, but then also what it may feel like to have self-compassion. So you can practice this as many times as you like. Again, just to get your body and your mind used to the feelings of self-compassion. So when you want to invoke it, during times of challenge or stress, it's easy for your mind to remember these types of feelings. So earlier we did a couple examples, so we can go through them now again, just again for that reinforcement. So practical applications of self-compassion. So it's recognizing and reframing negative self-talk. So most of us can relate to this. We have negative self-talk. And it's understanding how to identify negative self-talk, but then reframing it with compassionate thoughts. So an example might be from a negative self-talk point of view is, I failed again. I never get better. Whereas if we reframe it with a compassionate thought, we could say something like, this is a difficult moment, but it's part of my journey and I'm learning and growing. Another example might be from a negative self-talk point of view is, I must be the only one who can't do this. Okay, so again, it's feeling isolated. Um, Whereas if we reframe it with a compassionate thought, we can say, there are communities of us and everyone experiences ups and downs. I am just experiencing a down at the moment. So again, it's acknowledging what I'm going through, but it's not catastrophizing um, the experience or your self-worth. Another example from a negative point of view is, on the program, we have so many tools. Also, there are so many fidgets to sort of lean on. There are hundreds of fidgets out there that we can try. So we can say maybe this tool or this fidget doesn't work for me. I'll never be free from this. Whereas if we reframe it with a compassionate thought, we can say, there are many tools that I can rely on. This isn't one of them. And I know I can try another. So I think these can be really helpful. And if none of these resonate with you and you have some negative self-talks, that you often, rely on, that are quite frequent for you, you can write them down in your own time and reframe them with a compassionate thought. And you can then, write those down on a piece of paper and read them on a regular basis, or stick them up by your mirror, and you can refer to them during times of challenges or distress, or even when you're just having that negative self-talk, instead of having to go through that sort of um, having decision fatigue and trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I reframe this? You've already done some of the homework and you can just rely on what you've already prepared. So that might be a helpful thing for you to do. So our second and final exercise for today will guide you through practical steps to cultivate self-compassion. So again, it's helping you manage the emotional aftermath of relapse. So this exercise integrates, again, the three elements of self-compassion. So as a reminder, it's mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. So again, to help us respond differently to challenges like a hair pulling relapse. So for this one, you don't have to watch me demonstrate any gestures. So you can get comfortable, you can squish around in your seat, find a nice comfortable position. And for this one, you can also close your eyes if it feels more comfortable and safe for you. Okay, so let's get comfortable in our seat. And if you're ready, you can close your eyes. And I want you to focus on your breath. So just taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. So this is just to help us center ourselves. So let's breathe in again through our nose. Hold for a second and out through our mouth. Let's do this just 2 more times. So breathing in, holding, and breathing out through your mouth. And last one, breathe in, take a moment, and breathe out. And throughout this exercise, I don't want you to forget about your breathing. But you can just let it be your natural rhythm, but I just don't want you to hold your breath during the session. Okay. So first, I'd like you to think about a situation or experience that has been challenging for you. So it can be related to hair pulling. It can be something that you've experienced today, more recent, or previously. But I want you to choose something that is difficult, but not too overwhelming, because I want you to be able to feel ready to explore that in the session. So now just take a moment to think about that situation, that scenario, that challenge. And just really immerse yourself in this experience. Get curious about it. What do you see around you? What is happening? Allow yourself to be truly present in that moment. So next, bring your attention to the discomfort or the pain associated with this experience. And acknowledge it by saying to yourself, this is a moment of suffering. This is an act of mindfulness. So it's validating your experience and acknowledging what you're going through. Or alternatively, you might even say something like, this is really tough and I'm struggling right now. You can use whatever words resonate with you to acknowledge your feelings and your experience. And by doing so, you're practicing mindfulness by observing your emotions without judgment. Now let's remind ourselves that suffering is a universal part of the human experience. So this is where common humanity comes in. So you might say to yourself, it's normal to experience setbacks. I'm not alone. Others also go through ups and downs. Recognize that your experience, while difficult and unique to you, it is also something that others have faced too. So this is an act of common humanity. It's reminding ourselves that suffering is a shared human experience. We're not isolated, we're not alone. So next, place your hands over your heart, similar to how we did in the last exercise, or wherever you may feel is comforting or supportive to you. So you can even just hold your hands and place them on your lap. And you could say to yourself, may I be kind to myself. This is an act of self-kindness, offering yourself the same compassion you would give to a friend or loved one. But if this feels a little bit too difficult or a little bit unfamiliar, you can try imagine you're speaking to yourself as if you were a young child in need of comfort. Or even consider what you might say to a dear friend going through something similar. What words of kindness would you offer them? And notice the tone of your voice, gentle, compassionate. And now direct those same words and that same tone towards yourself. Maybe if you're still struggling, some things you might say could be, I'm sorry, this is so hard for you. I am here for you. And even, what can I do to help? And as you sit here, just take a moment to observe what arises within you. How are you feeling? What do you notice in your body and your mind? Do you maybe perhaps feel a little bit different to how you're feeling now in comparison to how you first felt starting this exercise? And just sit here for a moment. And when you're ready, you can gently lower your hands, continue with your breath, and slowly begin to open your eyes. I'd love to know in the comments section later how that experience was for you. Again, did you feel any change or difference in how you were feeling in the middle or towards the end of the exercise in comparison to how you were feeling before the exercise or even before you started this webinar? If you're willing to share, we'd love to know. I hope, though, that you do have a sense of more self-kindness towards yourself. You are feeling a little bit more maybe calm or safe, a bit more at peace, and a sense of what self-compassion could feel like, with some more practice. And again, just a reinforcement and a reminder is that I accept that imperfection is a natural part of the human, of being human, and as part of the human experience. So for those in the hair pulling community, it's easy to feel isolated and believe that everyone else is managing their behavior perfect or better than us, while we're sitting here alone, struggling. But the truth is that, again, everyone experiences ups and downs. And again, you might have a day where you successfully avoid pulling, but then have a setback the next day. So instead of seeing this as a failure, we can recognize it as part of the journey. And remember, just as others in the community have their good and bad days, so do you. So what matters is that you continue to learn and grow and support yourself with compassion through every step of your journey. So just a reminder of our resources that we have available. These are free resources for anyone to access. There are some links here, but if you can't sort of write out the links, if they look a little bit long, you can let us know. You can just send us an email and I'll send these to you. But you have access to our blog content, where there are all different types of topics around hair pulling and trichotillomania, whether it comes to relapses or treatment options or self-help, or even how to speak to a loved one or your hairdresser about your hair pulling. We have a lot of content on our webinars. As I mentioned earlier, we have an in-depth session about relapses and strong emotions like your shame, guilt, embarrassment, or even disgust. One of our therapists, Laura, goes into a lot of detail into this. So that's nice to start off with, and you can end with this session. We also are on all of socials. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where we share a lot of content that could be really helpful. So it's some tips, or just some information about trichotillomania. We also have a online community, which is on Facebook as well. So we have a private Facebook group. So you just search for trichstop.com on Facebook and you'll be able to find it. It's an incredibly supportive community. So there's a lot of resources that are available to you. But if you have any questions about the program or about trichotillomania treatment, or about relapses in general, you can email us at support@trichstop.com. We are quite good at responding efficiently and effectively. So you're welcome to send us an email there. And just a reminder that if you are wanting to join the program, you have access to a $100 discount for the first month if you use the promo code that's on the screen now. And don't worry if you forget it or can't find it later on. Again, you can always email us and we'll send you the promo code again. So thank you so much for joining the session. If there are any questions, you're welcome to type them away in the Q&A or chat box now, and we'll go through them. But if you don't feel comfortable, asking any questions now, as I mentioned, you can always send us a question to the support@trichstop.com email, and we will respond to you there. I see a hand raised. You're welcome to ask the question in the chat box. I see some comments coming in, just thanking for the webinar. You're more than welcome. Thank you so much for attending. It's an absolute pleasure. So there's a question that's just come up. Are there any notifications sent of more meetings like this? Yes, definitely. So if you subscribe to receiving communication emails from us, you can just go ahead and go to the website and subscribe, and you will get invitations to all of our events. You'll get reminders to these specific webinars. Again, you can also look at our YouTube channel for the past recorded events. And if you follow us on all of our socials, we send constant reminders about what's coming up with regards to webinar content. So yes, we've got your back, and we're there to remind you what's coming up. And if you have any suggestions about any types of webinars you'd like to participate in, again, you're welcome to let us know. We love hearing from you. And yes, our poll didn't quite work during the session, but I am going to be putting the poll up on our socials tomorrow. So I know you weren't able to participate in the poll today, but yeah, please look out for it on Facebook and Instagram tomorrow, and you can participate in it as well and see what others have to say about self-compassion within their culture or society. Again, just lots of thanks that are coming through. You're welcome. We love doing webinars. We have at least 2 webinars every single month. So it's our absolute pleasure doing these. There is another question coming through. Is it possible to entirely quit hair pulling? So currently, the way things stand right now, there is no cure for trichotillomania. But obviously, there's a lot of research that's going into it with regards to medication and sort of therapy treatments as well. There is a lot of success in managing hair pulling. Um, as long as you put in the work and you get the support that you need, particularly from perhaps a therapist or a support group, and you learn the skills. It can definitely help reduce the number of hair pulling sessions that you may have, or even reduce the intensity of it. So there is hope, and there's a lot of success in managing hair pulling. But for now, there's no particular medication or no like 100% foolproof cure for trichotillomania. Um, I'm just reading the question here. I'm glad to know that the mindfulness was really helpful. Okay, so this question here about compulsions and impulses, even urges. Uh, so again, this is quite an in-depth question, and we don't have so much time to sort of go into answering it. You know, the difference, OCD, compulsions, urges, and your impulses. But there's a lot of content that is on our website. So you can just, if you're Googling, if you don't know how to sort of go through all the content on the website, you can just Google trickstop.com, impulses, and urges. A lot of different articles will come up, and you can read through that. Also, if you go into our blog content, you click on treatment. Also, not blog content. If you just go onto our website, and on the top there's a tab called treatment. You can click on the first button there. It's extensive, and it goes through a lot of detail into the difference of all of that. We also have a lot of webinar content that goes into a lot of academic depth into these differences, but I think you might find very helpful. I know it doesn't completely answer your question right now, but at least it gives you some reading after this as well. Okay, so there's another question about there is a medication called NAC, NAC. I'm certainly not going to read out the full word because I'm just going to embarrass myself. But it's too difficult to pronounce, but you can just Google NAC, medication for hair pulling. So it is considered or classified as a supplement, and there have been studies to show that it does or can reduce the hair pulling or even skin picking um, urges. It sometimes works for some and sometimes it doesn't work for others. So we have had some reports that it's done absolutely nothing, and we've had some positive reports that it has reduced the urges. What I would suggest that if you are seeing a therapist, discuss this with them before taking any type of medication. Definitely chat to your GP or your general practitioner, your family doctor before taking any medication. We just want to make sure that you won't have any sort of adverse reactions. But we have heard of it, and we even again have another article about it. I think we have at least two, so you can read up on the website there. But there have been some positive reviews from clients who have taken NAC to be quite helpful. So there's another question here, tips to help stop pulling. So again, that's worth a whole webinar on its own. There is a lot of content on our blog. We put a lot of content about this kind of stuff, tips and tricks on our social media as well. Um, if you if you haven't considered yet, um, and if you're not on the program yet, I would, highly suggest that you consider that. Please send us an email. We and we could try to see how we can support you in getting into the program. Tips and tricks can help you so far, but it is important that you have, tools at your disposal. It's important that you have the support from a therapist to guide and support you through the process. There are uh, different finance packages that are more affordable that you can choose from. Again, we have promo codes, so we really try and make it accessible to everyone to join the program. Who is the manufacturer of NAC is another question. I have no idea. Um, I don't want to give any kind of false information. So just, you would have to Google that. Or, again, the most experienced person would be your family doctor or your general practitioner about that information. I think we might have it on the article that covers NAC, but just have a look there. There's just more things that are coming through. Thank you. You're more than welcome. I hope the exercises were informative and valuable. And if anything, I hope you, like I said, you enjoyed the exercise and you found some comfort in them as well. It definitely helped to relax me, so I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. I hope I've gone through all the questions. If I did miss anything, again, please email me and I will answer you. Again, the email address is support@trickstop.com. And if there are no more questions, we're going to close the session. So thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, this is recorded, so if you want to go back to it, you don't remember all the exercises, you can always watch the recording. I'm definitely going to be uploading it tomorrow. So thank you, everyone. I hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day. Bye.